Oh my god, Loki! What's wrong, Loki? Come back alive! There's Loki! Shit! Oh! Oh, no, 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 ah! Okay, this is gonna be an iPhone video, and I hate doing them sometimes because lower quality, audio's weird, but there's a lot for me to do, and this is just a lot easier. What's up YouTube? Jason here with Byte My Bits, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing some diagnostic surgery on my server, Loki. If you guys don't know, I have talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but basically Loki went down, it doesn't work anymore, and I gotta figure out what's wrong. There's a long story. I'm gonna try to cliff note this as much as possible, so bear with me. Also, second part of this video is probably gonna be in the computer room and a little loud, so sorry about your ears. Day one, the power goes out at my house for at least, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours. Now, if you know anything about my server setup, you know that I have 2 very large UPS backups, and everything was running perfectly fine for like an hour and a half. I'm talking everything, okay? The Loki, the switch, my main computer, everything was running really great. But I mean, after so long, like batteries run out. So I ended up having to go through and shut everything down. Before I shut down my main computer, I logged into Loki, went into Unraid, shut everything down exactly how it's supposed to be, like a legit shutdown. It went through the process and then it powered down with plenty of battery to spare, mind you. So before anyone says, hey, this is related to the power thing, nothing related to the power thing. I just never update or restart my server unless I absolutely have to. So this just happens to be the time that I shut it down. But anyways, I power everything down, get everything good to go. The power comes on another hour and a half later, and Loki will not boot. It will not come up. Something is broke. I don't understand it. What is going on? Loki is punishing me, right? Because I named Loki Loki, which Loki is a trickster, so Loki is being a pain in my butt right now. The problem was that Loki would not boot up. It said there was a USB over voltage issue, basically saying something was wrong with the USB key, at least that's what I thought originally, and it would not boot. So I took that USB key out, I plugged it into my main computer, and here's where things get a little fuzzy. My main computer was actually able to read the USB drive, but because I was too scared to stick it directly into my main computer, I stuck it through a USB hub. I don't know if that actually saves anything, but I'm like, if this thing's gonna fry something, I don't want it to fry my motherboard port. I want it to fry this port. It probably would still do it, but anyway, this thought process that I have. So I stick it in, it recognizes it, I copy all of my configurations and everything off that USB drive, and then halfway through it, it crashes and it disconnects. So I'm thinking, holy crap, okay, the USB thing is bad and I probably should have had better backups, and I probably did, but here we are. Actually, I do have all the backups on my new Synology NAS, which I didn't even think about at the time. But anyways, I try to copy everything off, it crashes. I end up having to plug in and unplug it back in because I wanted my configuration information off of the drive. So I'm plugging it in and out, trying to get just a few files at a time. Long story short on that is I ended up getting everything copied, and it kind of sort of worked. I plugged in a new USB drive and I made a new Unraid, thumb drive. Everything worked. It never dropped out. There was no problems. So I'm automatically thinking, okay, my USB drive for some reason went bad. This is the problem. Simple fix. Swap out the USB drive, hit up Unraid, be like, yo, give me a new registration transfer thing. Boom, done deal, be back in a Plex in no time. But that's not how it worked. Instead, I made this new USB disk, I stuck it into Loki, powered it on, got the exact same error. So things are getting hairy, things are getting bananas. I think maybe I fried my board. I'm like, crap, can I send this to MSI and be like, guys, I'm blaming you, please give me a free motherboard. I spent $600 on this. I don't want to have to buy another one. Please. So I unplugged the USB drive, tried to boot it again without anything plugged in, including like no keyboards, no mice, no nothing, and it still wouldn't get past that error message. So I'm thinking I really screwed this thing up, or the USB drive really screwed this thing up. But then I unplugged the PCI slot card thing. I can't even think. I unplugged the SAS card from the motherboard, the PCI SAS card. I just kind of laid it over and I tried to boot it and it came up. Everything worked. except for the USB, okay? Everything, kind of a strong word, didn't really work in this, context. So it technically booted up, and I was only able to get into the BIOS. So I went through there, I configured, I was like looking, I was like, okay, it should work, what's going on? Then I put in the new USB drive, try to boot from the USB drive. Let's just fast forward. I could not get this thing to boot no matter what I did. SSDs, Windows installs, tried everything I could not get it to boot whatsoever. So I yank that motherboard out. I'm like, God, I have to have Unraid up. If I have to get a warranty on a board, I gotta, have something because, you have to have something. I run and I take the old guts that originally came with Loki. We're talking the most lowest, crappiest dual Xeon. I think it only has like 30 cores or something. I slap that in there and I plug everything in. I boot it up without a PCI SAS card, mind you, and everything works. With Unraid, it's perfect. So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, bad motherboard confirmed, right? But no, I plug in the PCI card and I plug that, which of course hooks up all my hard drives. I plug in the PCI card and it will not boot. It gives me a boot error, like no bootable media device, which is a simple fix. Your little BIOS action there, you set the right boot device, which I thought I already did. Turns out I did. And then you reboot it and then everything works. And then, hey, end of story. Guys, thanks for showing up. Woo! I'm wrong. No matter what I changed, I could not get it to boot up. It's supposed to boot from the drive. It's basically, if you ever try to create a bootable flash drive and it doesn't work, it automatically goes to the second one. Like if it didn't do it right? It goes to the second boot device. And if you don't have a second boot device, then it gives you an error. This is basic computer 101. It needs to boot something. So I think, okay, Jason, you screwed up the Unraid drive. I don't know how you did it, but you screwed it up. Go make another one. Oh, let's waste time on that. Oh, let's get another USB drive. Let's try that. Oh, let's try, I could not get it to boot at all. So again, powered it down, unplugged the PCI card, powered it back up, Unraid came up automatically. But hey, USB drive works, motherboard works, should be good to go. So as you would imagine, I swap out my SAS card because thankfully I have a spare one that somebody sent me, AKA Liquid Syphilis off of Discord, who is now cheating on me with Jeff's Discord. But, that's aside the point. He sent me the SAS card a long time ago. By the way, F you, Liquid. He sent me the SAS card a long time ago, and I was going to return it, but, lazy. Doesn't matter. Still had it, plugged it in, did not work with the new one. What the hell? And then I'm thinking to myself, USB over voltage or some kind of a power warning. Let's generalize it as a power issue. And whenever I'm plugging in the PCI thing, it's also drawing more power to connect to all the hard drives. So I unplug, I pull out, I unplug all the hard drives, and then I boot into Unraid with the PCI SAS card. What do you know? It freaking boots. So what does that mean? I have no idea. Unraid works, everything works, but I have no drives. I plug in the drives after it's booted up, and Unraid recognizes all of the drives, everything works, Unraid is up, I'm good to go. Now, I have no idea what's going on. This is a repeatable process, by the way. Right now, as it sits with the way Loki is, if I reboot or power down or do anything that requires me to boot back up, I have to pull all of my hard drives out, or at least out of the SATA slot, and then wait for it to boot. And then as soon as it goes to the Unraid screen, push in all the hard drives relatively quickly without damaging them. And then Unraid picks everything up and boots up normally. It's just like this initial issue. Bunch of troubleshooting steps later, I get online and realize that the specific motherboard that I have has a known issue with like large arrays and not being able to recognize boot things because it gets confused and it's dumb. So is this coincidence that I have a crappy motherboard that gave me an error at the same time I was having problems with something else? Or is it the exact same problem, but just rearing its ugly head in a different fashion because it's different hardware? No idea. Either way, Unraid was running, Plex was running. I was happy temporarily. That allowed me to take my main motherboard over to my test bench with a test ATX power supply, plug it in, power it on, and see what was wrong with it and work on it in an environment that doesn't require to take my server down, and everything worked just fine. I could boot off a USB drive, I could do anything. It was no problem. So you ask yourself, is the old crappy motherboard not booting because it has an issue? Or is it not booting because there's a power issue? Really, I bought the server, I ripped everything out of it except for the power supplies and the power distribution, the thing that's underneath the motherboard. So really, that's the only part of this build that's original. So technically, because this thing has like, you know, circuits and everything underneath the motherboard that allows you to plug in up to four power supplies and combine them all into one, technically that would be a failure point, because I tried multiple power supplies and they all just have the same results. Oh yeah, I missed that part of the troubleshooting step. Yeah. So if it's a power distribution issue, then all I have to do really is, you know, rip it out and find that power ID, part number, whatever, and get a replacement, put it back in, good to go, no problem. Haven't done that yet. That's kind of where we are today. Or I can mod Loki and use a standard ATX power supply. But honestly, I powder coated Loki. It's a beautiful server. I'm maybe a little biased here, but I love the way it looks. And I don't want to go grinding on it, modifying it, drilling into it or anything like that. So I'm probably just gonna have to figure out what part I need replaced and buy it off eBay. But that is where we are today, okay? I've been putting this off, and this is why it's on an iPhone, right? I've been putting this off because whipping out the camera, I wanna make a video about it, but it's always such a big hassle. But I'm like, you know what? Grab the phone. How easy is the phone? Look at this. Walk with me. Let's go diagnose stuff. Now I just turned the server off. Everything is shut down so I can work on it. But here's the steps that I'm going to take today. One, this is my old SAS card, right? Or a old SAS card. I think I have one or two of these. So obviously I don't want to use this. I don't want to use the old motherboard. This thing is slow as piss. This thing is slow as piss. And I have no video card in here because I was having, you know, what I thought was power issues, so I left it out. So now I'm going to rip all of this out, and I'm going to see if I can get the old motherboard to power on. I guess that's a little misleading because I say the old motherboard, but really I need the new motherboard. But it's the old one that was in here, but it was really the new one, but it's the old one, but it's the new one. So I'm gonna rip this one out. I'm gonna put the Ryzen motherboard in there, hook everything up, and then just kind of sort of see if it boots up. If it doesn't boot up, my next step in this diagnostic process of mine is going to be to hook up an ATX power supply, just kind of dangling out of the server with, like, you know, guts hanging out like it's, you know, just got stabbed. And I'm gonna see if I can get everything to boot off of that ATX power supply with the backplanes and everything, which is gonna be interesting. But my theory is that if I can't get it to boot with an ATX power supply with the backplanes, the backplanes are basically what connects all the hard drives, then maybe possibly I have a bad backplane. Wouldn't that be interesting? I'd hate to go through all this whole power distribution, you know, rabbit hole and then find out really I had a shorted out backplane that for some reason wouldn't boot properly, even though it works completely fine now. Computers are weird, errors are weird, and sometimes you run into weird stuff. I know I have. With all the stuff that I've done, you find things that you think, wow, I can't believe that was it. But I am seriously stuck on power. I really think it is power, not necessarily the power supplies, just that distribution. Because this is already a long video, because I've been rambling, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. So here you go. Problem number one. This is the reason why I was hesitant to do this, because I know when I put this together that this was a thing. Like, these are the connections for the backplane. Now, obviously, these right here, these are for the fans in the front. So those are pretty basic. I can figure those out. These are actually, if I look at my ATX power supply here, if I could find one, these are just CPU power plugs. Like, they actually fit in there, and I don't know if they would work, but I mean, they fit in there, and they kind of, sort of, I mean, they split. Look at this, right? But the problem with that is that I need 2 CPU power supplies to run this board. So I couldn't use this even if I wanted to, and I don't have any extra power supply or CPU ports on my ATX power supply. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is gonna be this little sucker right here. This doesn't conform with anything. Like, I got all these like power cables down here. Doesn't conform with VG, wait, does it? Hold on. Not gonna work. I guess I probably should just look at this. It looks like it should. These are the, no, but this has this little thing on there. So this is a variable. I don't know if, you know, the VGA cable should work for that. These are CPU cables. I think these are fans. I don't actually know what these are right here. Like what are those? I mean, I'm seeing power colors here, but that doesn't necessarily say anything because they're all power colors almost. And then we have this, which I unplugged from this, and I don't really know what this goes to. And we have 2 of them. So I'd have to not only figure it out for 1, but I have to figure out for 2. So since I can't just use an ATX power supply right off the gate, I'm going to put it all back together with the original power supply and then just see what happens. Okay, this is gonna be loud. So all you headphone users, I'm sorry, but I just did a boot up test. I got everything plugged in except I unplugged all the power to the back plane. Oddly enough, because I'm only using 1 power supply, this server likes to just scream bloody murder. There's a turn off button, but for some reason that's not working right now. I don't know why it would have anything to do with that. But, so just let you know it's gonna be loud. But with all that said, I tried to boot it up and it did not work. Bear in mind, I had nothing plugged into this. No PCI except for the video card, which again worked on the test bench. So just with the power supply and nothing else in this video card. God, this thing is just screaming bloody murder right now. Oh, now it worked. It worked, but it didn't work. It did the same thing where I was able to get into the BIOS, but it wouldn't actually read anything once I put the USB drive in there. It wouldn't boot or do anything. It just kept going to BIOS. So it was super annoying. I cannot wait to disable that beeper thing. Even if I will stab that damn thing with this if I have to. So now what I'm gonna do is unplug everything here, right? And I am going to hook up an ATX power supply, but just in this server case, and then see if it boots, which it probably will. Well, what the hell? All right, more stuff is leading me to a number of different problems, but I can't boot with the old power supply and a new USB drive. I plugged in a new power supply and a new USB drive, and it technically boots, even though it doesn't boot all the way, because I probably did the USB wrong, I guess. I don't know. Really kind of wish I had another motherboard to throw. Rebooting again, I put the cache drive in just to see if it would boot with that, and it got the unraid, but only on the second try. The first try, it said that it was an overvoltage. So all I did was reboot. I didn't do anything besides just hit the power button again. And now it's starting. I mean, it's messed up, but like, what in the world? Just tell me what I need to buy to fix this. Detected on your USB device, and this is the new one. So all I did was restart it again just to see. It's just kind of hit or miss. The only spare motherboard I have, which is a 97A G43 from MSI. It's an FX processor. That's all I remember of this thing. This thing is old and crap, and yeah. But I do have 2 PCI slots, so I guess there's that. That's all I got. PCI Express anyways. Maybe I can just hook this up, see if it boots. And what I mean by booting is all of it. Like, I want the hard drives to boot up with Unraid. If the hard drives boot up with Unraid, with this board, then I don't know. I have adapters and all kinds of I don't know. I'm just gonna, basically, I got everything plugged in, and I don't have any headers hooked up. I don't actually know which one it is. So I think I'm just gonna touch the tip. Okay, one of these should turn it on. Don't try this at home, but yeah. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Woo. Okay, that's power surging. All right, this is bad. Okay, look at this. That sucks. That's not making noise anymore, but hey, whatever. After booting into the BIOS and setting this to boot, it boots up just fine. Every time this power hog powers on, it kicks on my backup power supply, which means that it surges power and it's super power hungry. But it looks like it might actually work. So I can go and I can boot this into GUI mode, and it might actually work. I have my cache drive, I got my video card, got my CPU, which is a piece of crap, got all my hard drives, got the 2 back planes plugged. Oh shit, I don't have enough PCI slots to add a PCI SAS card. God damn it. Plan, scratch that. I'm gonna take out the cache drive and see if I can get it to power on. Damn it. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get it to power on with all the drives. Is it gonna boot? I think, you son of a, it's dead. Wouldn't it surprise me? This thing is old. Amazon Basics is here. Wait, that should be the right one. Close enough. This thing is booting. I have the SAS card, I got the video card, I got all the hard drives plugged in. Everything was recognized, 2 SSDs, and it boots once I, put in a battery and configured it again. It boots without having to unplug drives. So that means that motherboard has problems and it can screw off. This motherboard is crap, but it may work. I don't have my 10 gig networking or my cache drive because I don't have enough PCI slots in order to make that work. I don't really know any way around that, so that kind of sucks. And I can either A, run this even more so half gimped with basically nothing on here and just hope for a warranty, or B, I can install that, which technically still works. I just have to unplug all the hard drives every time I need a reboot. So, yeah. Can we just take a second and acknowledge how versatile Unraid is? You just throw it in whatever, and it's like, as long as the same shit is there, it works. That's kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie. It just recognizes AMD FX 6350, 6-core. And, plot twist, so I was trying to update to 6.9, right? And test out this secondary pool thing. Well, look at that. I couldn't get the pool to start up with the other motherboard. It kept giving me an error. And now it booted up. So again, I don't have my cache drive, which sucks. I need my cache drive, but I do have my Plex SSD. And yeah, so Plex technically should be running. The whole world is crumbling and I have no motherboard. I have no old enough, I need a video head because FX processors, if I remember right, don't have video. I do know because it just doesn't work. So I need a video card, but I also need 3 PCI Express. So here we are. I'm out of options, no way to fix it. I can get it back up and running in GIMP mode that barely runs with that crappy dual Xeon processor. But I think I'm gonna have to do that. That's it. The power's good. Power distribution thing, that theory, completely stupid. It's just the motherboard. That Ryzen motherboard is toast, and I gotta do an RMA on it. That's gonna take probably 20 million years, so I gotta find a solution between now and then. I'm just anticipating MSI's warranty process is gonna be pretty bad, with COVID-19 and all that going on, so. And I'm tired. It's past my bedtime. Staying up way too late. Oh. I forgot about this thing. How did I forget about this thing? Oh my gosh. This is an X99 board with a 5960. Oh no, shit, it has water cooling. Damn it. This is running an NZXT all-in-one water cooler, which technically I could set off to the side. It looked jankety, but I don't really want to take that out, although it'd be better than nothing. This thing is old too, but X5960X, baby, that's not a bad processor, especially to hold me over. I might have oh, there's my other 8 terabyte drive. I forgot about that. That's an option. 64 gigs of RAM, not a bad processor. That'll hold me over. Okay, 5960. I'd flip this over and show you. Actually, fuck it. I'm just gonna, there you go. 5960X. I took the IHS, or I took the cooler off to expose the IHS. This is gonna be my new Plex server. So I have the RTX 4000, the cache drive, the SAS card, and the 10 gig NIC, right? Everything's installed, so that's looking good. All-in-one water cooler hooked up right there, and got that radiator sitting up there with the fans. I even took all of my Noctua boxes with like cables and rubbers and shit like that. Like, look at that, all those rubbers. So I got everything kind of broken down because I always look for cables and stuff. So I put all that in there. That's the FX motherboard. That is the crappy Xeon motherboard. This is the X99 motherboard, and this is the Ryzen motherboard that I have to do a warranty on. So I think I got everything installed. This SSD I've been meaning to install or replace for a long time. Again, is another problem for another day, but I think it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and let's plug this in. I think I have this board configured to automatically boot on power anyway, so let's go and plug this in and see what happens. Yep, gotta stab the ooh. Oh, what was that? I don't know what that means. I know that the connection for the server power button is a little strange, right? So it kind of messes with stuff, but let's try it again. Nope. Okay. So let's just take that out and hit power. There we go. There you go. Going to be running this fan on top of the this little area where it has the NIC, the SAS controller, and the SSD, the NVMe SSD. So none of this had anything like that before, but I don't know. I just figured, why not? This is gonna be sitting on the ground like this for a while until I get the replacement motherboard. Or I was thinking, if I do want to just run the X99 system like all the time, maybe, I don't know, depends on how well I like it, then I can just get an air cooler and get rid of this. So I don't need an all-in-one cooler. I'm not going to be overclocking this, not doing anything like that. So if I just get myself an X99 air cooler that would fit in the server case, this might be good enough. I mean, 64 gigs of RAM and still an 8-core processor, so you know, that ain't bad. But the point is I know now it's not power because it boots up just fine. It doesn't have the issue where I have to pull the drives out to get it to boot. There's no kind of major like over voltage issues or USB drive issues or anything like that. So it's not a power thing. It's nothing to do with anything in the server case. It's just a bad motherboard. So the array is online, everything is started, and the second pull actually now works. So there's definitely an issue with that motherboard. So I'm gonna start playing with that a little bit more. And now I gotta take that back and figure out, probably just, you know, take everything off of it obviously, and get that sent in and submitted for an RMA. And then who knows how long that's gonna take, but who knows what I'm gonna do with it afterwards. But that's it. Loki's back up and running. Definitely in a like chaotic state, but it works, and that's all that matters, and that's how I sleep at night. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, post them in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, like, and subscribe, and have yourself a great day.